everybody, I'm Stephanie Wilkins and I'm a certified nutrition counselor, and I'm here to talk to you today about meal planning and meal prep. I enjoy helping clients plan nutritious meals for their families, eliminate stress in their life, and also stick to their routine. And I know you all are homeschool moms, and I'm a former homeschool mom myself. I've got 2 adult children now that are all out into the world doing their own thing. And I enjoy helping homeschool moms, and I know that that's the last thing in the world that you want to worry about is what to cook for dinner, because I remember. So let's get started, why don't we? Well, today we're going to talk about weekly meal planning. Of course, you can do monthly meal planning too, and if that's something that you would like to do, you are free to contact me and I can talk to you about that a little bit. But I suggest weekly meal planning because it's easier to provide fresh, nutritious meals, shopping weekly. And that way you can ensure that you get good, fresh produce and fresh meat. So first things first, the first aspect of meal planning is to make sure that you put it on your calendar. And so what we do in our home is we put it on the big calendar. If it's not on the big calendar, then it's not going to happen. So I've got my big calendar here to show you. It is really big, isn't it? This hangs on my wall at home, but I'm going to take it out of its little wooden thing here so that I can show you a close-up shot of this. What I do is I put all my things that are constant on, this meal planner. Now, for homeschool moms, you may have a constant calendar like this one, and then you probably have your school calendar with all your planning for all your subjects and things like that. But this really needs to be separate from that, I believe, and somewhere where everybody in the household can see it. So see, here's my calendar right here, and this is for August. I went ahead and turned it to August for you because my July looked a little messy and we don't have very many weeks left in July. So anyway, I have it color coded there, and we do all of our meal planning, prep, and grocery shopping on the same day of the week, and we have chosen Monday. But for you homeschool moms, what you might need to do is you might need to divide that up. You may need to do some of it on Friday and some of it on Saturday, or some of it on Saturday and some of it on Monday. You be the judge of that, of course, but the main key is to plan it every week and have it on your calendar and do it on the same day each week. This ensures that you are going to have plans for the entire week, and it helps you also if you're going to go out to dinner or something like that. If your kids have special food needs, if there's any food intolerances or allergies, this allows you to be able to plan ahead and to look at menus and so forth online, depending upon where you are headed. The next essential that you're going to need is a meal planner template. And I've gotten this one off of homeschool.com, and it's really neat. I'll show it to you. It has, it was a free printable, and so you can just print that right off. And it has the days of the week here, and I hope you can see this. It says breakfast, lunch. It allows you to plan that. And then on the back, I printed it on one sheet to save paper. It's got a place for supper or dinner, whatever you call it, and your snacks. And then over here, it's got a place for your shopping list. And so whatever template you decide to use, just make sure that it also includes a shopping list, because you always want to have your shopping list on there. And then, there's templates all over the internet. Pinterest has great ones, but I love this one that she had on here, and it's free. That's even better, right? It's free. Another thing that you could do is you can use a meal planning app. There's a lot of very intuitive apps out there, like allrecipes.com. I love that one. I don't know which ones are all out there. I just know that there's a bunch of them, and you Google whatever you want to cook and it comes up with these apps that you can download and everything. Technology is a great thing, but you just might be an old-fashioned girl or guy, and you can put it on the notes on your phone as well. And a lot of times that's what I do. I don't necessarily have to use the template every time, but I showed you the template because I think templates are fun. So now it's time to start our planning. So take your meal planner here, whichever one you end up with, and we are going to start planning our meals. Now, the first thing I do before I start planning any new meals with new ingredients, using my cookbooks, whatever, is I come to my pantry like I've done right here, and I'm gonna open it up, and we're gonna check for food that we already have so that we can utilize what we have, because that is the best thing to do, because it saves time and it saves money, and you know, you don't want to be wasteful, right? So what do I have in here that I could utilize for a meal? Maybe I can get 1 or 2 meals out of what I already have. I have to be creative, right? That's what homeschool moms do. We're creative. So I have found some black beans in here. So that's a good start. And then what else do I have? Oh, I've got my jasmine rice. So this is a staple item that I keep. I always keep rice on hand. So I have a whole bag of jasmine rice. So we can do beans and rice for dinner. And I can add that to a green salad. And this will be perfect for our vegetarian night. We always have a vegetarian night once a week. And we add that to, I usually have a red meat night, a vegetarian night, and then the rest of the nights we have fish or chicken with our veggies. And then I have probably about 5 or 6 vegetables that I kind of rotate around for everyone. But on vegetarian night, I normally do a salad with some sort of a complete protein like beans and rice. So this is great. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write that down on my template here, or my notes in my phone, or whatever I decide to use, right? So I'm gonna write this on Tuesday. Beans and rice and salad. And of course, I don't have the salad because, as I said, we are going for fresh and organic with our produce. So I never buy too much produce. I always buy just enough so that I can utilize it during the week, and then I get new the next week, because if you're using organics, as you know, they go bad pretty quickly. You want it to be as fresh as possible. So just get what you need. Do not buy too much. And that's why meal planning is so important too. You are less likely to waste food. So since my salad is not something that I have, I'm gonna write that down on my shopping list, that I need my lettuce, my tomato, whatever it is that I want in my salad, because I am fresh out of salad materials now. The next thing I do is I'm gonna look back in my pantry, because what I'm looking for now are my staple items. I need to make sure to see what staple items that I need at the store. This is before we look at recipes, before we start planning these meals. We're gonna look and make sure that we have all our staple items. And staple items are things like milk, bread, your favorite crackers, whatever it is that you eat on a daily basis throughout the week along with your meals. These are your staple items, and your things that you create meals out of, such as your flour, your baking soda, your baking powder if you're into making things from scratch, all of your spices. So you're gonna look up in your spice cabinet. I've got my spice cabinet here open, and one thing that we use a lot of that is very healthy is garlic. Lots of antioxidants in garlic, so I need to make sure I've got enough garlic. And something else that I utilize a lot of is chili powder. And I use Italian seasonings such as oregano, and make sure I have enough black pepper. Yes, everything looks good, looks great. Look up here for my baking stuff. I've got my cinnamon. Okay, so I'm good on spices. I've checked that. Now I'm gonna look down here in my pantry and make sure that I have enough flour and all that. And this helps me know what stores I'm gonna have to go to as well, because for us, we have gluten-free people in our family, so we have to go to a different store to get certain items, even though, you know, the normal stores carry all the gluten-free things. I like a particular brand, and it happens to be at either Whole Foods or Sprouts. So I'm gonna look down here and make sure that I have my, yes, we still have our gluten-free flour, so I'm good there. And you know, more staple items that I usually always keep on hand, which I've utilized them this time, are these beans. Beans are good for everything. You can put together beans to make a chili. You can put together beans to make beans and rice. You can add them to salads. So beans are big time staple items. So I always make sure that I have plenty of beans. So I need to put those on my list for sure. So I'm gonna write down beans. And I'm out of bread now. And I told you that I've already put my salad stuff on my list. And then another thing that's always on my list, even if I don't make a recipe out of it, because it's produce again, is fruit. It's so important to buy good fruit that is fresh. And so when you go to the store, you need to pay particular attention to where your fruit is coming from. Because if you're not careful, whether it's organic or not, it can have chemicals on it. I mean, if it's organic, it shouldn't have chemicals. But you want to pay attention to where it comes from. And there's actually lists on the internet that you can find that tell which countries spray more. So that might be of particular interest to you. But if it's not, no big deal. Just get yourself a fruit and veggie wash and make sure that you wash your fruit really well. Because you might be able to find some from a particular country that is a real good price and it looks really good. But it might have been sprayed, so you just need to take that veggie wash and you need to wash it. So veggie and fruit wash is also a staple item to have on hand. So now that we've checked for our staple items and we've checked for things that we already have and created a few meals to save some money, now we're going to start the fun part of creating our menu for the rest of the week utilizing our cookbooks or our online apps. So the kind of cookbooks that I really enjoy are the ones that contain things that can be cooked either in an Instapot or a crock pot, because I can make them all at once and then I can utilize them more than once because they make quite a bit of food. So we can make 2 meals out of this. I can have a dinner meal and then the next day I can utilize it for lunch, or maybe 2 days later I can utilize it for lunch. So I can cook one day and then I can have at least 2 meals out of it for the whole family. And so some of these books, you know, there's these Instapot books that you can get. And there's also slow cooker books that you can get. But I really love old cookbooks. You can find them everywhere. A lot of antique stores have very, very good cookbooks. A lot less costly than the ones that you find at the bookstores. And of course you can get them on Amazon too, but you know, you really don't even have to do that anymore with all the apps available in Google at your hand. But I just love the pages and turning the pages. I think that comes from being a homeschool mom, just loving to look at books. So, and I like pretty pictures as well. I always want mine to be illustrated. And there's something about having a page in hand versus just looking up something on the computer. I like to touch and feel it, and I like my cookbooks to get really dirty too. I don't know about you, but I do. Mine usually have, you know, baking stuff on them or whatever. I've tried to get it off, but the pages are smeared and everything else. But anyway, they're well loved anyway. They're well loved cookbooks and they're cherished in our home. So I've got some really old ones from my mother-in-law and from my mother that come from the church, the old church cookbooks. And some of those are very, very unhealthy, but there's some of my favorite recipes. So what I've done is I've taken those recipes and then I've exchanged out the ingredients. So that's another important thing that you can do. You can utilize these old cookbooks. And if you're making a dessert, perhaps you can take a cake recipe and you can literally just take out half of the sugar that they put in there, and instead of the old lard that they used to use, the Crisco, you can use olive oil. There's just so many different things you can do. You can, instead of milk, you can use almond milk. There's just a ton of things that you can do to make those delicious recipes very, very healthy, or not completely healthy, but a lot more healthy than they were. So now we're on to the fun part. So this is where you would get your cookbooks out and you would decide, what do we want? And so during the week, you would plan accordingly, doing some crock pot meals or some Instapot meals, or maybe you just want to do a baked chicken or whatever. But what do you do on the weekends? The weekends are kind of, you know, different. And when we were homeschooling and everything, we didn't go out to eat all the time. Now that I don't have kids, my husband and I, we go out on the weekends. And, you know, when the kids were here, we would go out on occasion, but usually it was just one day. So what are you going to cook those other days? Well, this is when it gets fun because you and your family can do the cooking together over the weekend. So things like pizza night, taco night, baked potato night, those are fun because the whole family can get involved and they can kind of be creative with what they want to put on their meals. So you can serve up like a bar of potato toppings, and you can do simple baked potatoes, and then everybody can put whatever toppings they want on their baked potatoes. Taco night, the same thing. You just cook it up to make it more nutritious. What can you do? You could cook chicken instead of ground beef. That would make it much more nutritious for your family. And then you put the toppings out. Instead of a lot of cheese, you can utilize things like beans and salsas and vegetables. All those things make tacos more nutritious. And then what was the other thing I mentioned? Pizza night. Again, use vegetables on your pizza. These kids, they will learn to love vegetables if you serve them on their favorite foods. So making homemade pizza is a lot of fun in itself. And for young kids, they love to help you roll out the dough. So it's kind of an activity that you can do together on the weekends, as well as you feed your family and you're teaching them to eat wholesome, good, homemade foods that are full of good, solid ingredients that are not man-made and chemical laden. We want to use real food all the time when we cook. So once we find our meals in our cookbooks that we want to plan, we need to write them down. And the first thing we want to do is we always want to plan dinner first, okay? And I'll show you why. But let's pick out what we want in here, and then we're going to write them down, which I've already done. So I'm going to show you here. I have planned supper for every night. And then I have also planned my snacks for each day, okay? And then I made the shopping list accordingly. And to make the shopping list a little bit easier, I divided it up. This always makes my shopping list easier. And I know they make little shopping lists already divided up, and I hope you have one because it's a little bit easier than this. But I put dairy here, produce, meats, and other stuff right there. So your shopping list may be separate from this one, or it may be on here. But if it's on this one and you're using this neat little template, then you can divide yours up like I did. So then from this, I make my shopping list. But what you need to do, this is a really good tip because I have done this so many times. Once you find your recipe in your cookbook and you write it down, make sure that you indicate on the day that you're cooking, like I'm cooking chicken teriyaki here, write down the name of the cookbook that you found your recipe in and the page number. So then you don't come home from the store and you're like, oh my goodness, I was gonna make chicken teriyaki, but I can't remember which cookbook it was in. I don't know how many times I did that, so I learned my lesson well not to do that anymore. I always write down the page number now and the name of the cookbook. And then from there, like I said, we make our shopping list. And then once we're through planning all our dinners, then we can go over here to the lunch and the breakfast side. This side is much easier because, or it is for me, you can plan out each individual lunch and breakfast if you want to, but because I'm doing such good crock pot meals a couple of days, and I'm gonna make a crock pot of chili for one day, and I'm gonna make an Instapot or slow cooker chicken teriyaki. Those things are gonna last throughout the week, along with, I'm making hamburgers when I'll probably have a hamburger left over. But anyway, so what I've put for my lunches is, I don't do it on a particular day. It'll depend on what we feel like as a family. And really, everybody can have a choice if they want to, if they are eating leftovers. So what their choices are leftovers, sandwiches, or salads. And you will have all the stuff that you need for that, because on your shopping list, you need to make sure that you've got your staple item of bread on there, and then some really good, healthy lunch meat. Try to buy lunch meat that does not have any nitrates in it. I can't tell you enough how much of a difference that makes in your children's lives not to have nitrates in their meat, because you want it with as less processing as possible. And this is for behavior issues in children. So do some study on that. It's very important. And also for breakfast, you can have one of 3 different things for the week. For this week, what I planned is oatmeal with toppings, cereal with fruit, or protein shakes. And so I have those 3 things to choose from every single day. So that makes it easy. It also gives a little bit of variety for everybody. And, you're free to make that choice for everybody, of course, if you want to, if it becomes crazy for you. But a lot of times the kids like the independence of being able to make the choice. And when you give them those 3 healthy choices, then they can do that very easily. It's already ready. And what I would suggest doing, again, make ahead your oatmeal. And then all you have to do is take it out of the refrigerator, add a little bit of milk to it or almond milk to it, put it in the microwave, okay? And there's really neat recipes for oatmeal too, like there's the overnight oatmeal where it cooks overnight and then it's done the next day, or you can do the stovetop or the instant. You may find some really good organic instant oatmeals. Perfect for school-age kids. Let's say you take them to a homeschool co-op or something like that. Get a little instant oatmeal package for them that's organic though, and add a little fruit to that, and you've got a good meal there for them. Protein shakes. I use these protein shakes that are really, really good. There's all kinds out there, but a pea protein shake is very, very healthy and has about 16 grams of protein in it. So it's very good for you and maybe a little too much for your young children. So you could half it up for them and their brother or sister. And then cereal, make sure that you buy whole grain cereal. Ezekiel brand makes some flakes that are very good. The other Ezekiel brand, not so tasty. But also there's a lot of sprouted grain cereals out there now by a lot of natural whole food companies that are very, very good. And the sprouted grains have a lot more fiber in them. So I would suggest trying some of those. There's some really good raisin brands out there and they have a lot less sugar in them. The sprouted corn flakes, all that type thing. And there's some oat flakes as well. So you'll have to try those. But there you go. So your breakfast and your lunches are already done simply because you planned your dinner so well. So you should be proud of yourself because you've saved yourself a lot of time and money by doing these crock pot and Instapot meals and utilizing what you have on hand for dinner for your lunches, okay? So now we're going to talk about meal prep. So the most important part of meal prep is cooking that food that you've shopped for. So whatever day you've set aside for your actual meal prep, you're going to cook your food on that day, the majority of it. So the things that you have for your crock pot or your Instapot, you want to go ahead and cook those things up because those things can be cooked and then put away and pulled out when you need them. That's what saves you so much time. Also, if you so you can cook up to about three meals at a time, and then you might choose another day to cook for the other 3 days. So try to keep yourself cooking only twice a week and then store this stuff in the refrigerator and pull it out. You may even freeze some of it and pull it out of the freezer, but try just to put it in the refrigerator. It's much easier for you, but that would mean that you would need to cook twice a week instead of only once a week. If you're just wanting to do once a week, you probably will have to utilize your freezer. So, but this should save you a lot of time, just cooking twice a week versus every night of the week. And then of course you will have to prepare your lunches and your breakfast, but that's no big deal. It's the dinner that's the killer, right? And it's normally the meat that's the main issue for everybody. Another helpful hint is go ahead and cook up all your vegetables for the week. That's another way you could approach it. You could do that all at once. So all you have to do, you can mix and match veggies every night if you want to do sort of like we do the lunches and the breakfast. You can make all these veggies up and then you can pull out what you want to serve with your chicken teriyaki or your turkey chili or whatever. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do it. You just have to be creative. Again, as a homeschool mom, we are creative people, right? That's what we do. So you should have no problem with that. But those are real big time savers for meal prep. Another thing you can do to save yourself some time is, hold on, this thing is crazy, is you can get some paper plates. Paper plates are great. It's okay to use paper plates during the day. And you can use those for your lunches. And I think that helps moms because we don't want to be doing dishes all day long. But it's nice to use real plates at dinner because number one, it teaches your kids how to help with the chores. They can help with the dishes at night. And also, it's not wasteful. You're not wasting a lot of paper, things like that, killing trees. But it also shows good hospitality to others when they come into your home to eat. And it teaches your kids how to set the table, and you can teach them proper table manners when you're using real plates, real forks, spoons, knives, etc., etc. I know a lot of people who eat on paper plates all the time, and I just don't recommend this because I think your kids need to learn good table manners, and real dishes are a part of that. And for some of you, maybe you haven't invested in any good dishes yet, but they make a lot of really cool stoneware now that's wonderful for children because it's very sturdy, and you don't have to worry about them breaking things because it's not going to break. There's also some good heavy plastic. If you're worried because you have little kids, you could get some good heavy plastic plates that definitely would not break if they drop them or whatever, but still just a little bit higher level than a paper plate. So I want to leave you with a couple of tips, especially for snack items for your kids. Here's some good suggestions. I'm going to read these to you. Instead of the processed snacks that kids like to eat, we can still make them fun and enjoyable, but very healthy. So let me tell you a few things that you could serve them. You could serve apples with nut butter, frozen whole grain waffles to pop in the toaster, and then you can put either peanut butter on those or real maple syrup, whole grain crackers with cheese, fruit and vegetable smoothies. Veggie-based, plant-based dips that are out there now are great with crackers, and some of them are yogurt-based. And then, of course, raw veggies with these homemade dips, or hummus. Those are all very, very good snack items for your kids to have. So just think about those things. Think about trying to exchange some of the other items that aren't quite so healthy for some of those. And of course, fruit is always good. And there's always some sort of fruit in season. Things that are full of sugar, dyes, additives, and preservatives. If you just get rid of those things, then you are headed in the right direction. So I would encourage you to purge your pantry and then to replace those items with good, wholesome things. And don't go backwards, go forwards. It's a journey though, so I would just say, don't go crazy, don't beat yourself up, and maybe just change out a couple of things at a time. If that's more your way of doing things, then that might be the best way to do it. But I will tell you this, if it's in your house, then you're going to have issues with people wanting to eat too much of it. It's best to keep it out of the house and then go out for a treat. So don't keep gallons of ice cream in your home if you don't want your kids to eat it all the time. They're going to beg, even if you don't let them eat it, they're going to beg for it every day. So it's best not to keep it in the house and then treat them to an ice cream. So that's a good tip for kids and parents. That's it. Well, I thank you guys so much for letting me talk to you today about meal planning and meal prep, and then a few nutrition tips. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful homeschool year. I cannot believe that summer is over and you're about to start schooling again. So have a wonderful 2021-22 school year. I want you to know that I'm going to be thinking about you, and I'm here to encourage you. And I'm going to put a link in the bottom here so that you can look me up on homeschool.com. I do a lot of articles. I'm a guest writer on homeschool.com, and also have a ministry called No More Band-Aids, and it is a ministry that reaches out to people with chronic disease and encourages them. And I do nutrition consults for people personally and privately, and those are free of charge. And then also I have paid group classes that I teach. And so I teach classes in intentional eating. I teach meal prep classes. I teach meal planning classes. I teach classes to parents of kids that have food issues, because my kids had food issues. I'm talking about food intolerances and food allergies. I can help you with that. So if you want to reach out to me, just feel free to call me or text me at 770-366-7148. or email me at steph@nomoorebandaids@gmail.com. Thank you.